Yes, so it's another time again, the 2026 FIFA World Cup Finals, done and dusted. Spain are champions for the second time in their career. The first time they won was in 2010 in South Africa, winning against Argentina by a lone goal to 0 in this particular finals. I'm sure most people will definitely argue as to whether Spain deserved to win the finals, but this is it. This is the finals of the World Cup. Now we're talking a little bit about the whole tournament, that is the 2026 FIFA World Cup tournament, from the group stage to the finals. And I've been joined here by my colleagues Force and then Courage to do a little bit more of discussions for this particular one. I'll start with you, Force. I would like to ask you for a general overview of the World Cup from the group stage to the finals.
Well, to be sincere with you, it's been a fantastic tournament because the last time the US did host the tournament was in 1994, where they put up a very fantastic tournament. But the expanded version to 48. This is the first time that they're hosting it, and I'm going to say that it's been a wonderful tournament. And considering the fact that it's the first time that we've had, it's more of a trial patch. You understand? I mean, where three countries have been able to host the tournaments: USA, Canada, and then Mexico. So I would say that the organization has been great. The football has been massive. And then kudos to Spain, who has become champion again for the second time in their history. But in the totality of how the game has been hosted, I would say that it's been massively peaceful. Just that prior to the start of the game, the political issue between Iran and then the USA, but that has been that was resolved, and the tournament was very impactful, and it also put into perspective how big the World Cup is, because the Americans, they don't really know how big the World Cup is, but when they realized the populace and how big it was, they try to juxtapose that to their NBA, their football, and then they realize that no, this is practically and unarguably the biggest sporting event in world sports.
All right, so Courage, let's talk about the three host nations: Mexico, Canada, and then USA. Most of the times, whenever teams are hosting a World Cup, there is that much pressure on them. But you talk about Mexico, USA, and Canada. Let's start with US. US are not much more of a football nation. Let's talk, and not to even talk about Canada. Unlike Mexico, who we know the kind of force that they play in the World Cup. Were you really impressed with the three teams, how they manage their games in this particular tournament?
I was massively impressed. I'm not going to lie, because if you look at a team like the USC, I didn't have high hopes in them, but then their coach, Pochettino, did quite a good job. You look at their play, their system of play, how they possess the ball very well, and how they're able to connect, build from the wings, from the attack, and then also connect from midfield to attack, scored a couple of goals, and then I was very, very impressed. But then look at the team like Mexico, the best among the host nations, according to my view. I didn't expect them to even advance past the group stages, but then they went all the way to round 16.
And they didn't even consider a goal in the first three games.
Because some of these players, you think maybe it's a player like Raul Jimenez, you would think, oh, this is a Finnish player. You've seen him in the Premier League a couple of years, and then we saw that chap, that guy who plays in the Saudi league, plays at the wing side, contributing with a lot of goals. You look at these things, you'll be like, is it because they are hosting? That's why they are putting that massive performance. So I was really impressed. But then Canada, it is what it is. Football is not really their thing. And then I think they are the only team that quite disappointed their nation as host nations.
All right, so now let's switch to Ghana. I mean, the Black Stars, they say we can't talk about the World Cup without talking about the Black Stars of Ghana. Our first three games in the group stage, going into our round of 32 against Colombia. Coach Carlos Queiroz, he was appointed just a few days to the start of the World Cup. He had just one friendly match. Were you impressed with the Black Star team, and were you impressed with Carlos Queiroz?
Honestly, I should say yes, because I didn't expect the Black Stars of Ghana winning a single game at the World Cup. I thought they would draw with our first game, Panama. I thought they were going to draw that game, and then also lose against England and then Croatia. But then we had a bit of luck on our side that we couldn't concede a goal against England. Ghana happens to be the only nation that didn't concede a goal against England. England scored in every particular game they played, ending up with Harry Kane getting 6 goals, and then Jude Bellingham getting 6. So only 2 players combining, scoring 13 goals, and then the other goal coming from Ghana was coming from the Arsenal guys,
Saka.
yeah, Saka, Rice, and Co. So I didn't expect Ghana to advance from the group stages. So if they're able to advance and then going to meet Colombia, one of the very, very strong positions to play against in the World Cup, South American teams, these teams are very, very strong. And then you see Ghana, one thing that I was disappointed in is Ghana didn't really play a football like how we are known of playing. Ghana are known of playing a very exciting football, but then this time around we went packing the bus all game through. The only game we opened up was the game that had nothing, had no impact on our qualification, was the game against Croatia. Even against Panama, we left it very, very late because we were packing the bus and then we're not finding spaces behind the Panama players. But then the last minute goal, as I said earlier, luck played a lot of role in Ghana's World Cup campaign.
All right. So first, let me ask you two things. Who was your team, your outstanding team from the entire tournament? Who was your best player aside being Rodri named the player of the tournament? These two questions. Who do you think were the standouts for you?
Well, to me, I think that Jude Bellingham, is to me the best player of the tournament. Because if you look at prior to the start of the tournament, where there was a debate as to whether he was going to be in the team or whether he should even be on the plane to the tournament, because we realized that there was that argument whether Morgan Rogers should be in that number 10 position. You understand? And if Morgan Rogers is in that number 10 position, then on what basis should Jude Bellingham be a part of the squad? And he's come to the tournament and justified the reasons for which he's been given that opportunity to be a part of the team and then play ahead of Morgan Rogers in that number 10 position. And for him to have, and for now, he's become the first midfielder in the history of the World Cup to chip in with 7 goals. And then the highest scoring English player in the particular World Cup. So to me, I think that he has been my best player. Was the Spanish guy
Rodri.
Rodri has been given the best player of the tournament, not necessarily because
he deserved it?
No, I don't think that he deserves it. He's been given the best player necessarily because they won the cup. So I think that is the reason for which he's been given the tournament.
Who do you think should have been?
That's what I'm saying. That Jude Bellingham to me is the best player of this tournament because if you look at the matches that he did play in the group stages and then the round of 16, because he has been practically chipping in the goals for the English national team. And also, I'm basing it on the debate that he wasn't supposed to be the starter in that number 10 position because even the English press were not happy with him. They all thought that Morgan Rogers should be in that number 10 position, but he's come to this World Cup and dispelled every single notion about him, and he's practically their biggest player in this tournament. He has justified the reason for which he's been given that 4 rule to be in that number 10 position.
Now, from moving on from the best player of the tournament and then the best team of the tournament, now let's talk about the finals: Spain, Argentina. Were you surprised to see these two teams in these finals? Courage.
England had Argentina at their neck, but then they just left them off the hook for them to escape because as at 85th minute, England was still leading by a goal. So how did they lose that game in 90 minutes? The game maybe in travel to extra time. So how did they lose that particular game? And then France, maybe, but then their forward line didn't come to the party. That could be their reason because they were all focused on the forward line and then leaving the back very, very exposed. So look at a player like William Saliba. When he got substituted, everything just jeopardized, and then Spain started getting loopholes behind the French national team backline. So I was tipping France and England on the final, and unfortunately that happened to be a third and fourth, and then also Argentina and Spain also. But then what is that win for Spain? Because if you are playing about 8 matches and then you concede just a single game, that should tell you that you are on top.
I mean, you have the like of
the best.
Kubasi,
yes,
a young chap.
You are just the best because, and then they've dominated every single game they've played. They've won possession of every single game. They played more shots. Even in the finals, they played close to 40 shots.
Yeah.
So what are the justifications that they don't deserve? If a team is playing 40 shots in one single game, what's the justification that they don't deserve the trophy or they don't deserve to win the final? So kudos to them. But then I feel France and England actually disappointed me. I thought they would have been the better teams to be in the final though.
Now, first, Kylian Mbappé is the top scorer of this one, and this is our final one. Kylian Mbappé winning the Golden Boot in this particular tournament, overpassing Messi as the all-time top scorer. Do you think Mbappé could have even done better to even surpass this 21 goal mark in the tournament?
It is trite what Mbappé could do. You understand, when it comes to scoring goals. He's a goal poacher, not necessarily a goal poacher, but he's also a fantastic player as it is. And to me, it is no surprise. You understand, because if you look at the first match that he did play, and then the last match that he did play against England, where he scored 2 goals. So to me, I think that there's absolutely no doubt, from when he was at PSG to when he came to Madrid, goals has been a part of his repertoire. Goals has been a part of what he does best. So I'm not really surprised that he's the best goal scorer in this tournament and also in the history of the World Cup. And you see, the funny thing is that he's going to stretch this mark even further in 2030. When the World Cup comes around again. So I am not surprised at all. But the only problem is that I thought that he should have led France into the finals, because if you look at the array of stars that they've got, if you look at the kind of football that they were playing, I thought that the World Cup finals should have been between them and England. And to be sincere with you, that would have been a better repertoire. That would have been a better match compared to what we witnessed between the Spanish national team and the Argentines. Because to be candid, if you just suppose what we saw today, what we saw between the Spaniards and the Argentines, it doesn't come nowhere near what we saw in 2022 between the French national and the Argentine national. That was a more open game where the two teams did have a go at each other. But today you realize that the Argentines were a bit scared. They were a bit lethargic. They were a bit uneventful trying to go forward. And then the Spanish did take possession. The Spanish did take absolute control of the game. And to me, I'm not really happy with the performance over the course of 120 minutes.
All right, so you heard Mike Pandit's courage and force speaking on the 2026 FIFA World Cup Finals. Spain are champions of the World Cup for the second time. Now, until next 4 years, Spain will continue to be the FIFA World Cup champions. Now, in 2030, we'll have Portugal, Spain, and then Morocco, who is the next edition of the World Cup tournament. But who do you think was your outstanding player of the tournament? Who do you think should have won the World Cup? You can share your thoughts with us on our media sports, that is on our YouTube channel and all our social media channels. My name is Amos Mama Boy.